Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to get crafty and do some thrift flips. I have a couple projects coming up that need some decor, and instead of going and buying things new, I found some items while I was thrifting that I think are gonna work perfectly. So I found this popcorn jug and I thought it would be the perfect thing to hold some stems. What I loved about this is I loved the bulbous shape of the actual jug itself, and I loved that it had a handle on it. It was the exact shape of some of the items that I was finding when I was searching online. The first thing I needed to do was spray paint the jug with this matte black paint and primer spray paint. What I want to do with this is make it look like it's a ceramic piece of pottery. So I'm going to do the baking soda painting trick. And if you haven't seen this, there are a lot of tutorials online and a lot of other YouTubers who have done this. So I'm definitely not taking credit for this idea, but I'm gonna go ahead and try it on this. In creating the paint for this faux ceramic look, I used just some basic acrylic paint from Target, and I mixed it in about a 1-to-1 ratio. I kind of just played around with both the paint and the baking soda to get the texture that I wanted. When you're doing this, you want the texture to be thicker than just the paint right out of the tube. So it's gonna be more like a paste. And then when I started brushing this on, I was just going for as much coverage as I can get. You're going to need to do at least 2 coats to get full coverage. But for the base coat, I wasn't going too thick. I was trying to get just a thin basic layer on the jug because I knew I was going to be layering other things onto this to get a more textured look. And that brings us to the second layer of the jug. So I used the same acrylic paint from Target, but this time in a white color. It's a little bit of a creamier off-white, and I did the same ratio mixture of the baking soda to have that same texture. And then just like the black layer, I went in and painted this white layer. There were a couple points where I was painting a thinner layer to see how that looked, but overall I decided to just do a solid layer of white because I wanted black to be the main color of this jug. So I knew I was going to go back over it with another layer of the black. Alright, so now for the fun part. As you can see, I am pulling out my cocoa powder. I have seen other people use dirt and mud to create a more antiqued look, but I didn't want to do that because it's been done. I wanted to try something different. So I used cocoa powder, and it does give that aged, antique, textured look that I was looking for, and it smelled really nice. So I basically just used the cocoa powder to give one layer of that brown, earthy color to this, but it's not a full coverage. And And then when I got to this last layer of the black baking soda paint, I went a little lighter with it. There are some areas that are fully black and you can't see any of the under layers coming through, but I tried to brush off some of the paint, so I was almost doing a dry brush in other areas, so you could see some of that creamy white come through, as well as some of the brown, to give it a really layered, textured, distressed look. As you can see in the finished product, you can really see that white coming through and a little peaks of the brown, which is exactly what I was looking for. All right, and now we're on to the second thrift flip, and that is our lamp. So when I found this, it did not have a lamp shade that came with it, but I really loved the style and shape. Just like with the jug, I took this out and did a layer of my matte black spray paint. The lamp itself isn't really getting any more things done to it. I'm gonna leave it in this black, and I feel like the black just really accentuates the design that's on the lamp itself. I did get some drips on here because I was a little heavy-handed with the spray paint. I tend to do that sometimes, but it's kind of hard to tell with the design that's on here unless you look really close. So I'm okay with that. What I am gonna do though is I'm gonna create a lampshade for this. And I tried looking for a lampshade that I could thrift, but I wasn't able to find one anywhere. So I went to Target and I bought a brand new lampshade. I really did try to thrift a lampshade. Every time I went to the thrift store, I tried to find the one that would work, and I just could not find any that were the right size. So I had to go brand new for this, but it was only $12, so it's still gonna be on a budget. And we are going to do something to change this lampshade up, so we do have a little crafting to do. I have some fabric left over from our wedding, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut that fabric into strips, and I'm gonna use it to wrap around the lampshade to give us kind of a faux pleated look. I measured roughly 2.5-inch strips. The exact size wasn't super important because I was going to be folding these strips in half and covering up that rough edge. So I wasn't concerned about sealing that rough edge or about the exact size. Then when it came to getting the wrinkles out, I used this flat iron for hair because I don't have an iron. So it worked in a pinch. And then for attaching these strips of fabric to the lampshade, I used hot glue, and then I simply just wrapped the folded piece around the lampshade multiple times to get that faux pleated look. While I was doing it, I wasn't too concerned about having the pleats perfect, all the same size, and all of that stuff. I think that having a little bit of variation just adds to that look. Plus, it was just way too much of a headache to try to make all of those perfect. So I just did the best I could to make it look nice and straight as I wrapped this fabric around the shade. I also want to point out that I planned on using an LED light bulb in this lamp from the beginning, which don't put off heat. And this lamp is not going to be left on when we're not in the home. So having fabric wrapped around the lampshade like this shouldn't be a safety hazard for our home. But if you are doing this for yourself, please keep those things in mind and take caution when doing this project. And the final thrift flip is our canvas. So for this canvas, I have a really specific idea. So I have been seeing a lot of wall art that is very textured, and I have really been loving that. In fact, I just saw the YouTuber Tina Lay. She did a canvas wall art with a lot of texture and using a comb to create lines in her canvas. And I saw that and really liked it, but I'm gonna do something a little bit different. So I went to Lowe's and I got some joint compound, and that is going to be what we use to create the texture for this piece. And then once I get the joint compound on, I'm just gonna use my finger to create lines in the canvas. So it's gonna be very linear, but I think that it's going to turn out really cool. So when doing a layer of joint compound, I wasn't too concerned about having it look nice. I just needed to get a layer on there. I was looking for that Wabi Sabi imperfect look, and I also knew that I was going to be doing a design on top of it, so it didn't need to be perfect. I have learned a few things after doing this project. I think if I were to do it again, I would do a thinner layer to start out with and add on to it if I needed to. It took a really long time to dry, and it cracked in a few places in the middle, I think because it was so thick, and the canvas itself wasn't super tight, so it did have a little bit of movement in it. So those are just a few things that I learned in doing this project, and there are things to keep in mind if you decide to do something like this as well. When working with the joint compound, start in thinner layers as best as you can and build up from there if you need to. But overall, for my first attempt at a project like this, I really think that it came out well. So I wanted to give myself a general guideline for creating these lines in the joint compound. I did a little bit of measuring, but it is very imperfect. It was basically just to give me some sort of guide when doing these lines, and I still kind of messed them up. Just like drawing lines on a piece of paper, my lines got longer as I went down the row, and you'll see at the end of this I added an extra line that I didn't mean to because I wanted to have a border, but I go ahead and cover that up. So just some things to keep in mind when doing this. If you want the lines to be perfectly the same size, you might have to do a little bit more measuring and planning those things out. I love how this turned out. I liked the imperfectness of it, and I think once it gets to the end product and everything's painted, it looks just perfect. Hey guys, it is a new day and I am currently editing this video, and I needed to pop on here to film some outro clips because my previous ones were completely unusable, and I wanted to talk a little bit about these thrift flips and how much I love them. I'd love to hear in the comments which one your favorite was. I don't think I can pick one because they all turned out way better than I was expecting, so they're all amazing. I love every single one of them, and I love how I was able to take these pieces that were potentially destined for a landfill and give them new life in our space. And also being able to take something that no one wanted and turning it into something fresh for my style was really rewarding as well. So I hope this video gives you inspiration to try something like this for yourself, for your own home. Go thrifting, see what's out there. You will not regret it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. It means so much to have all of you join me here on this channel, and I love this community that we are creating here. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.